Welcome to Let's Talk Near Death, the podcast show where we talk about the spiritual side of life, death, and also experiences somewhere in between. My name's Kirsty Salisbury, the host of your show, and I hope that you'll find huge value in the conversations that I host, the research that I'm doing, and the discussions that we hear on the show. There's also the VIP community where you can join for more in-depth discussion. We have online events, we have workbooks, we have topics, mantras, journaling, behind-the-scenes content, so many extras. And you can do that by going over to www.letstalkneardeath.com. But first, let's get into this episode. Hello, kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa. A huge welcome to you all. Welcome to episode 1 of season 12 of the Let's Talk Near Death podcast. I am excited about all of the interviews that are coming up. I'm excited to be back here, sharing my thoughts, getting episodes out, releasing content. I've had a wonderful break, and I'm aware that it's a little bit late in the year to be saying Happy New Year. But as this is our first episode, we are just in the very beginning of February. I wanted to say Happy New Year to you all. There's some exciting things coming up. I feel really positive about what's to come. I know that there's some crazy things in the world, but I do feel very positive, and I'm really happy to be back here. I've had some wonderful holiday time. My family and I, we got to go out to the beach. We've been away camping. We've been swimming and paddleboarding and kayaking and all sorts of fun things like that. It's the middle of summer here. It's extremely warm. We've had hardly any rain, and it's been an amazing time to take some time to sit a little bit, to reflect. I've been doing some writing, which I love. I've been doing some journaling, some thinking, meditating, lots of different things. I've been having a good time as well, getting out and about. But it's been a really great reset for me to sit back and actually just clear my mind of all the things that race through it, because my mind can be quite busy, and actually just take some time to plan and to process some of the things that have been going on. Now, we have got some changes coming up. I don't know how much I've shared with you, but I've actually been really drawn to do some work with people who are at the end of life. This is something which has been there for quite a while. Probably about 5 years ago, I thought, I wonder if there's something for me there down that pathway, but I was a little bit scared of it. Last year, I did some formal study and I got certified as an end-of-life doula. And so this is working with people who are in those end stages of life, who maybe need a bit of support or a bit of help or a bit of guidance. And this is really exciting for me. So I'm feeling drawn to go and do a little bit more of this work, to delve further into the topic of death where we stay dead, death experiences. We talked in our last season around after-death communication. And man, I found that fascinating. I am so grateful to our guests. I'm so grateful to everybody who shared their stories with me, all the emails that came in, all of the goodness that we found there. I found that topic very, very interesting. Something you'll know about me as we do these podcasts is that I just follow my heart. I have very little planning. I have very little direction. I follow my heart and I follow the things that come to me and where I feel led to go. So at the moment, I do feel very much led to go and do a little bit more work and exploration into death experiences where it's not a near-death experience, it's where we stay dead, or I shouldn't say we because we're all alive, but where people stay dead. And I want to support people right at the end of their life. But do you know what? You can't pick up new things when your hands are full. And this is a quote which has spoken to me quite significantly. There's another quote which I have to try and live by, which is, we can do anything, but we can't do everything. Because I love to be busy. I love to do things. I love to fill up my hands and carry all these beautiful projects around. I love to work with people and teams, and I do coaching. I run a publishing company on the side. That's kind of the part that supports this podcast. So I do quite a few different things. You'll know that I've got my daughter at home as well, so I love to invest into her. There's a lot going on. Now, we can't pick up new things when our hands are full. And so I've made the decision that I'm actually going to pull back on the amount of episodes that I'm releasing. And, it's a little bit hard to do because I feel like the podcast is a bit like my baby. This podcast, we're in season 12. I never imagined that this had 12 seasons. I never imagined it had 5 seasons in it. I thought there was just a few episodes and I'd move on, get past that. But as I come and I share and I connect with the guests and I chat with the people behind the scenes, we've got our beautiful VIP group where we have conversation there, and that is so rich. I find the more that I do these conversations, the more blessed I feel, the more I learn, the more that I personally seem to get out of it, which is amazing. Trust me, there's a whole lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. There is a lot that needs to be done, but it's something very beautiful. But like I said, I do feel this call that I need to go and do something else. And I could do that work and probably carry on everything that I'm doing. But I feel like to work with people that are end of life is very sacred work. It's very significant. It's meaningful. I feel very honored that I'll have the opportunity to do this. And I don't want to just get through that. I don't want to just manage that type of work. I want to truly devote some of my time, my focus, and my attention, and that it's not just another project that I'm carrying around in my hands here, which is why I feel the need to pull back a little bit. And maybe you're feeling the same in your life. I don't know. I know I'm not alone in this. I know that the way the world works, especially right now, we're all taking on heaps of things. We're all juggling different things. We're juggling family life and career life. And, there's a lot going on. We're carrying a lot of projects. And a huge thing for me is self-care. I will talk about this in our episode today, but this is one of the big things that I feel very challenged to address in my own life. And I know that I can't give as well as I need to the people that I'll be working with, people that I'll be serving, if I can't look after myself as well. So I don't want to burn out. I don't want to just skim through and juggle everything and be completely frazzled the whole time. So anyway, I'm rambling a little bit, but the episodes are going to go down a little bit. So I'm going to be releasing episodes every second week, so not weekly anymore. We'll still have our seasons. And I have to say there's some exciting things coming up. Season 12 is a little bit of a mixture season. It doesn't have a specific focus. So I will be talking to near-death experiences. I'm talking to a couple of other podcasters. I have a few different things in there. And I think that this is going to be really interesting. I think there's going to be huge value in it. I've got huge value out of pre-recording that. So I hope that you'll love that too. And then going forward, we're going to have episodes released every second week. The VIP group is in full swing. We've upped the amount of content that is in there. So if you're interested to get behind the scenes in the conversation, we've got our VIP group. This is where we have online calls. It's like a little community and a little tribe. And we address different topics. We have different conversations. There is journaling prompts, there's mantras, there's topics, there's behind the scenes content, pre-release. There's so many good things in there. And I love to spend my time in there. So if you want to get in on that conversation, all you have to do is go over to www.letstalkneardeath.com and find out information there, or send me a message, find a way to contact me. Pretty available online, pretty easy to get hold of. And I feel really good coming into this season. So I wanted to share with you today some things that have been on my heart. And that's a topic which I find really interesting. It is the topic of, what does a spiritual life look like? What does it mean to live a spiritual life? Can we still be spiritual if we're fighting something internally, if we've got grief, if we've got depression, if we have anger issues, if our life circumstances are really challenging right now? Can we still be spiritual? I think so. I don't think it's about any particular outward thing. I think being very spiritual, living a spiritual life, is a very personal thing. And I've been thinking about this quite a bit. It's a question that I addressed to our VIP group. We had a discussion on that just a couple of days ago about what does it actually mean to live a spiritual life. And the answers were very interesting. They all were quite similar, saying that it comes down to gratitude, it comes down to meditation, it comes to being quiet, surrendering. It's living the best life that we can. And, there was one time on our holiday, which this really just was burning on my heart. My husband took me away. It was our anniversary, and he did so good. He arranged for us to go jet skiing. And jet skiing is something that I have wanted to try for years. It's something that I've had on my list. Every year I write a list of things that I want to do, not because I'm goal-oriented, not because I'm trying to tick things off or achieve things, but because I think that there is power in doing things that we want to do, fulfilling what's on our heart. And I talk quite a bit about how we are here having a physical experience. And so why not have that physical experience? Why not embrace some of the things that are on offer? And I always think that life is a bit like a playground. There are so many things that we can do. So let's go have experiences. So anyway, my husband surprised me with going jet skiing. So we ended up down at the beach, and I was wearing completely the wrong things. Luckily, I was in shorts and t-shirt, but I didn't know that I was going out on the water. So we end up there jet skiing, and we went out and we had this fabulous time, and we got out our phones and we took some selfies, and there was the volcano in the background. I don't know if you can see the video, but in this painting up here, there's the little volcano there. We were right beside there, and we took these selfies, and then we came back afterwards, and I was just alive. I felt amazing. I was like, oh, that was so, so good. But you know what? It just increased over the day. I felt so good. And it wasn't just about being away with my husband, because the next day I woke up and I was like, do you know what? I feel more connected than I have in a long time. I feel open. I feel aligned and in tune with where I need to be spiritually. And my husband kind of looked at me and thought, okay, he can put up with quite a bit because I'm a little bit unusual. He is very grounded, which is amazing for me because I can be a bit flighty. But anyway, I was saying to him, I just feel so aligned and so connected to God, to purpose, to source, to peace, to what I need in my life. And I think it's because we went jet skiing. And that didn't really make too much sense to me. So I was pondering on this for quite a few days afterwards. And then I realized that actually, to live a spiritual life means to go and have experiences, to go and do things that are fun. And so I've got 5 points here that I want to share with you because I've been thinking about this quite heavily while we're away. When we do fun things, we raise our vibration. There's an element of satisfaction that we have. We feel better in ourselves because fun is light, fun is good. When we do experiences that we've wanted to do for quite a while, everything changes. We feel better, we show up better, we have more vibrancy, we have more energy. And so I think to live a spiritual life, I put this in our VIP group. I took the selfie of just myself on the jet ski and I put it up in the VIP group. And I was like, just went out on a jet ski. This was on my list of things I wanted to do this year. This is me living a spiritual life. And it sort of took a while for me to realize that living a spiritual life means getting out and doing fun things, but it absolutely does. So life is, I don't think we were created to come here and be completely bored out of our brains. I don't think we were created to come and do the 9 to 5 and have very little satisfaction in our life. If you love the 9 to 5, that is great. If you find satisfaction in that, that's great. I'm not saying that that is wrong. I'm saying that living a spiritual life needs to resonate with us on so many different levels. We should love our jobs. We should love our work. We should love how we spend our time. And I don't think we were created to come here and live boring, dull lives. So we're spiritual beings having physical experiences, and I'm all about that physical experience. So I think point 1 would be living a spiritual life means getting out and doing things, finding fun, having laughter. Spiritual things is finding things that we enjoy. So I find that quite interesting. I think living a spiritual life is showing up really well in our life. So how do we show up for others? How do we show up for ourselves? I can talk quite a bit about self-care because that is something that I've struggled with over the years for myself. And that's even part of me being busy. I can pick up so many things that I neglect myself, and I'm busy, busy, busy doing things, but I'm not looking after myself. And so I think showing up is also about self-care. It's how do we show up for other people? Do we let people down? Do we show up and give our best? Do we just skim the surface and just scrape through when we're with other people? You know, when we promise people things, when people rely on us for our job, are we just showing up because we just need to show up for our job? We're putting in the bare minimum, I guess is what I'm saying. I think to live a spiritual life is to show up well. And for ourselves, that might mean the way that we live. It might show up in our nutrition, the foods that we eat, whether we get our exercise in, whether we're raising our heart rate, whether we're looking after ourselves. And this could be as simple as booking in a dentist appointment. If we've got little niggly things and we know we should address them, I think living a spiritual life is booking in a dentist appointment. It's making sure our finances are okay. It's making sure that we've got the correct habits in our life. And I do believe that these things will start to speak to us. We kind of just know when we're going against what we should be doing. You've got this check in yourself, and I think we just know when something isn't the best for us. And I think we should listen to that. I think that actually these things speak to us for a reason. And if we can listen to them and clear things out of our life, so many of us, probably me included, are walking around with baggage that we don't need. We're walking around carrying emotions that we don't need. We're carrying memories. We're carrying reactions. We're carrying history, emotional history, different things that aren't serving us that we don't need. And so I think living a spiritual life is getting rid of some of that stuff. I'm going back to the dentist because this was a relevant one for me. So when I was about 18 or 19, I had a issue with one of my teeth. And I was so scared to go to the dentist. I was terrified to go, partly because I knew it was going to be really expensive. And I wasn't earning a salary. I was volunteering my time full time. So I wasn't making any money. I was doing charity work, basically. And I was so afraid of how much it was going to cost because I had nothing and I just didn't quite know how that was all going to work. But more than that, I was afraid because I knew it was bad. I knew they were going to have to get drills and deal with it. So there was two elements of fear there. I carried around that fear for about 2 years. And over that 2 years, the little problem that I had grew and it got bigger and bigger and bigger until I had such a major amount of stuff that I needed to do on my tooth that in the end it was really expensive. It was a little bit painful and it took a couple of visits to get it fixed. Had I just addressed that at the beginning when it was niggly, I could have saved myself 2 years of emotion, 2 years of fear, worrying about it, stressing about it, knowing that I was going against what I needed to do, because we all know that feeling. When we're not doing what we need to do, there's resistance, it feels yucky. Had I just gone to the dentist, I would have saved myself so much money, which was part of the fear, because the problem would have been so much smaller to fix. So I think living a spiritual life is how we show up for ourselves. It's those little habits that we have. Maybe that means snacking late at night, sitting down in the evening and binge watching TV and snacking food. Maybe it's about not having our finances in order, like I mentioned earlier. It's not being a good steward of our time, scrolling through social media too much. There are so many things. Maybe it's being overactive or too tight on ourselves, eating too healthily, doing too much exercise, having no screen time, setting strict boundaries for ourselves. That's not living a spiritual life. So there's all these things. It's about how do we show up? And if we show up well for ourselves, we can often show up much better for other people. So when we show up in our relationships, for our family, I know for me, when I'm carrying all these things around in my arms, all these projects, which I love, it's not a matter of that, but I take on too much. I know that I can't show up for my daughter when she gets in from school because I'm still working, I'm stressing, I'm juggling. I know that I can't show it well for my husband when I've forgotten to make dinner and there's no food in the house. And, that's not necessarily my role, but I know that when I take on too much, I can't show up as well as I need to when I don't practice self-care. So my question would be, what does self-care look like to you? How can you look after yourself better? And how can you show up better for the people around you? That, for me, is living a spiritual life. So then the next point, if we were going to do points, I'm going to say, okay, so point 1 would be finding fun, doing things we enjoy. Point 2 was around how we show up, making sure we're looking after ourselves. Point 3 would be about taking time to connect. So that's going to look like different things to different people. Taking time to connect might be meditating. You might be an experienced meditator where you can get in the zone, you can sit and you can be in your place to feel connected to who you need to be. It might be for some others, just taking 3 minutes away from the chaos of the family to go and just actually breathe. It may be going for a walk. It may be, it could be anything really, but I try myself very hard to sit down. I've got my chair, my father's chair. I sit in my chair and I just say, okay, what do I need to know? I love to do breathing exercises, which is why I put breathing exercises over in our VIP group. I love to do 5 minutes of breathing and then be able to just sit and reflect and meditate and just connect. And I find that when I don't do this, I don't live my best spiritual life. So I think living a spiritual life is about taking time to put aside everything that's going on. And we live busy lives. We do a lot of things. There's a lot going on. But if we can commit to a regular practice, and that could be any time of the day, maybe it's first thing in the morning, maybe it's if you're at work on a lunch break, or just even going for a walk around a car park or around the roads. It might be in the evening once you put the kids to bed, or before dinner, or it doesn't matter when it is. But taking regular time to connect. Because what happens when we do that is we get these messages of how to live a spiritual life. We start to hear about the things that maybe need a bit of tweaking. It's when the things I was talking before about little niggly habits or little niggly things that are speaking to us, but maybe we're pushing them away because we're afraid or they're scary or they're inconvenient. We can do that. We can push things away because it's the wrong time. I can't deal with that right now. But I think as we take time to connect, these little things show up and we get the messages of how we can live more aligned, more connected to our purpose, which for me is a massive, massive part of living a spiritual life. The more we spend time connecting and asking for guidance and direction, the more we'll get, the easier it becomes, the more we need it, the more we want it, the more we pursue it. So the more we pause, the more we will pause, if that makes sense. This is probably one of the biggest things for me. It's taking time. Do the breathing. Do meditation. Meditation is amazing. And that looks like different things to different people. We are going to be talking about meditation in quite a bit of detail next month in the VIP group. But do you know what blows me away? If we're talking about how this all looks very unique for everybody, we're all individual. We have meditation, which is about silence. There are Vipassana retreats where you go and you're silent. And then we have meditation, which is chanting. So how they're completely the opposite, and yet they are the same thing because it's about the intention behind it. It's about the connection. There's so many different types of meditation. There's walking meditation. There is all of these different types. I won't go into them because we're going to talk about that next month, but find one that works for you. And it doesn't have to look like what everyone else is doing. When we think of spiritual people, it's quite easy to get a visual of what that looks like. The people that live a spiritual life, and maybe they have certain dietary ways of living. They follow certain dietary requirements. Maybe they wear certain clothes. Maybe they act in a certain way or live in a certain place. You can often think of somebody up on a mountaintop in the Bali or somewhere like that, and you think, oh, they're spiritual. But actually, we have no idea what's going on inside. And so it's a very unique thing. But it's about taking the time to connect with what's right. And we might find that if we live a certain way, that it feels better. I was actually in Bali one time, was away on a leadership retreat, and one of the guys there lived a vegan lifestyle. And he was telling me all about it, and he was saying how great it was, how it changed his life. He felt more connected, more aligned. He felt just amazing living this lifestyle without animal products. And so I was like, oh man, I want a bit of that. That's pretty cool. He's a bit spiritual. I want that. So I came home and I made this decision that I was going to try the vegan lifestyle for 30 days and just see what happened. So I did it. And do you know what? I started to feel what he said he felt. I started to feel more energy. I had crazy, crazy dreams. And I'm talking like these dreams were just so specific, the detail in these dreams. I felt like I was connected to my purpose. I felt so close to God. I felt just amazing. And I was going, is this all we need to do? Is it really this simple that we just need to live a vegan lifestyle and we've got connection? And I spoke to some other people and they were saying that they had felt the same thing. And I was going, this is so much easier than I thought. I thought it was some complex thing to be super spiritual. And actually all I need to do is eat the right thing or not eat the right thing. And I thought I had it sorted for a little bit. And this is what we always do. We never have a clue, do we? I don't think we ever quite get it. But a couple of weeks, I did the 30 days and then I carried on because I felt great. So it was a couple of months later. I was away on a training course and we all started to get sick. We got this virus, and one by one in this training course, people started to drop out because they were getting so sick. And I made it through to the end. I was like, yes, this vegan lifestyle, it's so good. I don't even get sick when everyone else is. And I was driving home and I was like, oh, I don't feel so good. And I actually had to stop. It was about a 45-minute drive, but this came on so fast. I had to stop and I pulled over into this little industrial area, found a car park. I had to have a sleep in the car because I was that tired that I couldn't make it home. And when I got home, I climbed into bed and I stayed there for a couple of weeks. I was so sick and I was so miserable. And then I came out of that and I started to feel a little bit better, but not great. But I remember waking up, and I was waking up after having a couple of weeks of just sleeping for ages, all day, just doing nothing. And I thought, man, I want a milkshake. I could go a chocolate milkshake. So good right now. But I'm a vegan, so I'm not going to. So I lay in bed and I was fighting this feeling of I just want a milkshake. It was this craving beyond cravings. I hadn't eaten very much while I was sick because I wasn't getting up. I had slept a lot of the time. And then I just couldn't get over this thing of wanting a milkshake. And I was like, actually, do you know what? I'd take ice cream. I'd take a glass of milk. I'd take anything like that. And I tried to fight it. What happened is I could no longer do it. And I was so tired. And then I was like, okay, I'm actually just going to do this. I've done my couple of months of being vegan. I'm going to go and have one milkshake and then that'll be okay. I won't do it. And I walked up. We've got a little block of shops up by our house. I walked up and I went to the bakery and I got the milkshake. I got a mince pie and I got some bacon. And I went home and I had this little feast of animal products. And I just was loving it. I felt good. And I was thinking that was it. I'll just do that. And then I'll go back to this vegan lifestyle because that's what it is to be spiritual. I'll go back. So I'll just have this little binge and I'll misalign myself and then I'll get back on track later. And I think we're all a bit guilty of doing this in other areas of our life. We can all do this. Step aside, knowing we'll come back on track. But what happened is I felt amazing after I had it. And then my energy started to pick up and I started to heal in my body. And it was like my body was missing something. And then I carried on having animal products. I toned it back so it wasn't quite as unhealthy as meat pies and ice cream. But I continued to have animal products and I started to recover much quicker. And then I felt like my energy got better and better and better. And then I felt even more aligned and more connected than I had before I'd even started this vegan lifestyle. And so it just went to show that there is no right or wrong. It doesn't mean that we're any more connected. It doesn't mean we're more spiritual. It just means for a time, my body really appreciated the cleanse. It was great to connect because I was putting my focus into something else. I felt like that was a gateway for me to get more connected. But then when I stopped that, it was almost like it was increased again. And I came away going, that was a really interesting experience. There is no right, there is no wrong. It's all about our individual place. And so if we go like point 3, take time to sit, to breathe, to connect, that's when we get these messages coming through. That's when we learn how to live our lifestyle. That's when we understand what it is we need for our life. So that was an interesting experience for me. Asking what messages are there for us. Huge part of it. Okay, number 4 is understanding well, I've kind of already covered this. Number 4 is understanding that spirituality looks very different for us. When we sit in a line, often the things that come through, the messages come through, may be the same for people. They may start to live a certain lifestyle because that's what they feel led to do. That's great. So you might look at somebody and go, they're spiritual because, and that's what they're led to do. Spirituality means different things for different people. We've all got different things going on. We've got different life purposes. We've got different challenges. You know, we come here, have this physical experience, and I know that it's not always easy. And they say that living here on earth is one of the hardest challenges we can have. And I don't know much about that, but there are things that crop up. We experience loss, we experience illness, we experience pain, heartbreak. Things don't always go right. We can go through really low financial times. We can go through really high financial times. And I know people that have had really high financial times that have actually been extremely difficult. So we never know. We can't judge. We've got to understand that everything is unique and that being spiritual looks very different. So taking the time to connect, we understand what it is for us. It's all coming back to this thing of surrender, which is point number 5. I read a book recently. It was The Surrender Experience. Michael Singer wrote that. And oh my goodness, this book is absolutely amazing. I should probably be on a sales team or something because I'm telling everybody about it. It is so, so good. And the concept is about surrendering. And he decides he's going to surrender for a time. I'm not going to ruin the story for you. He's going to surrender and he's going to go and he's just going to be available for whatever life throws at him. And it's the most amazing story. I got so much out of it. I had a lot to reflect on. And so I think that point number 5 would be to live a spiritual life is to surrender. It's not giving in. It's not being weak. We often think to surrender means to be weak. I don't think so. I think to be vulnerable means we have power. So it's about taking time to sit and reflect and go with what's happening to us, not trying to push against these life lessons because they'll just keep coming again and again and again. And that's a valid point. If you're experiencing the same life lessons over and over again, take some time to sit down, plug into source, to God, whatever you want to call that. And I mean no offense by that. I'm aware we've all got different belief systems, the people that listen to this podcast. Take some time to connect to what is source for you and surrender to the experiences that we're having. Don't be weak. Don't give in. It doesn't mean when you get temptation, you just give it and go with it. It doesn't mean you take the easy options. It means living a conscious life, consciously aware of your focus, your decisions. I'm speaking to myself as well. It's everything for us. We need to be aware and live consciously. We can make decisions. We don't need to live the perfect life. I'm not saying we have to have our nutrition 100% perfect all the time. That would get boring really quickly. You know, I look at life as a playground. I look at food as that's quite exciting to me. There are a lot of different types of foods, but be aware of the impact on our body. And I check in constantly. Is this the right thing to put in my body? And then I make a decision based on that. And we might go off the track for a bit. Over Christmas, I certainly had my fair share of goodies, and that's okay. So living a spiritual life, I'm going to go recap on that. doing things that are fun, finding things that we enjoy, making time to show up really well on ourselves, looking after ourselves, showing up well for others. It is number 3, taking time to meditate, to reflect, to breathe, to be still, to be open. Number 4 is understanding that spirituality looks very, very different for everybody. We can't look at someone and think they've got it sorted, they're so spiritual. Spirituality, I don't know that it's something we achieve. You know, we talked about this in the VIP group. What about enlightenment? Have we arrived when we get enlightenment? Is that the goal? I think it's more about the journey. I think that living a spiritual life is about this physical experience, this journey, connecting spiritually within our physical experiences. It's understanding that that looks very, very different to everyone. And we can't judge. We don't know what people are going through. We don't know what their life purpose is. We don't know what their life lessons are. We can't look at someone and go, they're less spiritual because of whatever reason, or they're more spiritual for whatever reason. I don't think being spiritual is the goal in this lifetime. I think it's about connecting to purpose. It's about connecting to God, source, being aligned to our life purpose. If we've got a set life purpose, say for me, my life purpose is to understand self-care, and I'm away and I'm doing something completely different. I'm away living in a monastery somewhere, meditating 24 hours a day. And that wasn't what I was meant to be doing with my life. Might look spiritual, but actually I believe that I might have missed the point for my life purpose at this time. And so again, I don't think that would actually happen, because I think if you were to go away and connect for 24 hours a day, you'd get the message that it's probably not the right thing for you. But it's about understanding our journey looks different and connecting in to understand what our journey is for us. And number 5, surrendering to the experience, surrendering to God, surrendering to what's going on in our life. Wow, I just talked a whole lot, didn't I? Do you know, it feels actually quite good to get that off my chest, because it was the jet skiing thing. When I took that selfie and put it in the Facebook group, said, this is living a spiritual life to me. That really triggered a moment for me, and I haven't been able to let go of it. So I hope that my babbling on has been helpful to you. I hope that these 5 points are helpful for you. And I hope that you would actually just be really caring on yourself. Give yourself some love. Understand who you are and what you need. And that's a journey that I continually seem to go through. Like I say, I'm stepping into some other work at the moment, which is very, very exciting, very meaningful. I've been doing work with people at end of life for a little while now. Even in my publishing company, I have been publishing memoirs or end of life stories, legacy stories, things like that. And I think this is so meaningful. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to step into that work further, put some things that are in my hands down for a little bit. Not completely, so we'll release these episodes every 2 weeks now instead of weekly. If you have thoughts and questions, do let me know. I would love for you to join us over in the VIP group, where we have online calls, we have all sorts of different content. We've got workbooks, we've got topics, we've got mantras, journaling, behind the scenes, extra guests, extra sessions that don't go publicly live. And I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time. So wherever you are, I wish you well. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the Let's Talk Near Death podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with all of the events we have going on, and to visit www.letstalkneardeath.com to join the VIP community.